Hello. Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming tonight. It's really exciting to see a full room. And if you have not been here before, this is the Flower Kitchen. We're going on 6 months being open, and it's just like crazy. It feels like it's been 10 years and also 1 week. So it's been a wild ride. I'm one of the owners and the lead floral designer here. And something that I knew that I wanted to do before we opened was workshops, because I've been doing floral design for a really long time, and I've done a few workshops but haven't had a place that I wanted to do them like really regularly, and this felt like the right place and the right time to just start doing that. So thank you for attending tonight. And this is the first workshop that we've done partnering with someone. So this is my friend Nicole Burke of the Gardenary Co. And we've been friends for a long time, like 12 years. And we did like preschool with our littles back in the day. And then Nicole moved, sadly, but started this amazing gardening company. I'm going to let you talk about it, but we're both going to teach the things that we love to teach tonight, and I can't wait to learn from Nicole. I'm like going to get to be up here with you while you teach, which is exciting, and then I'm going to lead you guys through a demonstration with Nicole of the wreath design, and then we're going to set you guys loose to make your own. So that is it. So I'm going to hand it over to you now.
I'm Nicole Burke, and it is such an honor to get to hang out with you guys tonight. I'm going to tell you a little story because most of you, I think, know Melissa more than you know me. And 12 years ago, we had moved here to Nashville, and we were doing this preschool together. And I had, these are my two girls, these are my youngest two, I have two older. And at the time, they were like 4, 3, 1, and 0. And we were meeting at a park. And I hadn't met Melissa yet, I don't think. And one of our other friends said, oh, this really cool girl's coming, Melissa. But she's late because she has to make these flower arrangements for a bridal luncheon. And she forgot.
I did.
And so she said, so she had to stop at Fresh Market and make these and go deliver them. And at the time, I was like here with, just like I didn't even have time to brush my teeth. You know what I mean? Like the kids were such a joy, but it was such a transitional part of my life. And I had let go of my career to be home, which I loved. And Melissa drove up. She was like, maybe not too late to the park, maybe an hour. And she walked in and she had this there's this creative feeling just around her. And she was just telling us all the story, and she had all her 3 children, and they were all so happy and running and playing, and she was just telling the story of making these bridal bouquets, dropping them off just in time for the bridal luncheon. And you guys, it was my first time to meet a real person who was mixing entrepreneurship with motherhood. And she didn't know it, but at that time, it just put this little idea in my head. So, thank you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So,
amazing.
Yeah, so you never know how
you're crazy can...
Yeah, you never know how your life, the stories that you're living, the things that you're doing, it's sparking ideas in the people around you and giving them hope and joy. So I owe so much of what I do. I know she doesn't think so, but really it was like, this mom is making it work, and she was late, and she still made it work. And now her kids are at the park, and she made money for her family while she's getting to be at the park. So it was beautiful. So thank you. So it's like a full circle moment.
Yeah, it's really cool.
To be playing with plants right here with Melissa. So I'm going to teach you how to grow herbs and how to preserve herbs, and then Melissa's going to teach us. She's going to teach me how to take those herbs and put them on display on a wreath. So it's like it's a full circle moment really all together.
I know.
So first I want to talk a little bit about herbs themselves. When I first started gardening, we were living here in Nashville. We started with tomatoes. Has anyone tried to grow tomatoes as their first plant? So I don't know about you, but for me it was a big F, like a giant fail trying to grow tomatoes. I had no idea when I started that those were it's like a marathon for gardening. They're going to take 90 to 120 days in the garden. So it's like saying, hey, I want to learn how to run. I'll be right back. I'm going to go take 13 miles on, right? So it was a couple years later that I realized that herbs were actually a much easier way to start gardening. Herbs are often harvested, mostly harvested for their leaves. Some are harvested for the flower, which we'll talk about tonight. And as you know, as you learned in 3rd grade science, right? One of the first things that plants produce when they grow is leaves and roots. And so by growing plants that we're going to harvest the leaves from, we get to enjoy harvest, we get to enjoy the plants much sooner than when we're growing things for their fruit or for their roots. That's what my book that just came out this year, Leaves, Roots, and Fruit, is all about. You can take a peek at it after class if you want to. So I talk about herbs as really step 2 in learning how to garden because these plants are just so forgiving. They're so easy to grow, and they are what we call cut and come again, which means what? You cut them, and then you can participate if you want. You can cut them, and then guess what happens? They grow back. It's the very most magical thing. And as busy women as we are, who doesn't need something that you can like destroy and then you come back later and there's more of it? I mean, like, that's what we all need in our lives, right? So when I first started learning to garden, I would go to the plant store or the seed, section. I was like, wow, amazing. I'll just take one of everything, right? But like none of it really made sense to me. Like, what, do these all have the same needs? Do they all grow at the same time? And it took a while, but I read this book and started to learn how to see plants as in families. Just like a lot of you guys tonight came here with a family member. And so you can probably look at your family member and you're like, we're not exactly alike, right? But we have certain similarities. We kind of talk the same way, or we like the same kind of foods, and we thrive in similar conditions. There's always that weird one, you know what I mean? Like that cousin. But for the most part, families tell you a lot, and the same is true in the garden. Families tell us so much about plants. Really smart people who understood plants better than I do, they put plants in categories called families. And so that's how I'm going to teach you about herbs tonight. We're going to focus mostly on really 3 different plant families. Sound good? Okay, so here's the good news. Most of the herbs that we grow are in just one plant family. So if you don't meet any other families, if you just know this one, you're going to know like 98% of the herbs that you need in your kitchen. And that is commonly known as the mint plant family. We can all practice a little Latin tonight, and that word is Lamiaceae. So Melissa's going to say it for you.
Lamiaceae.
That's right. Let's all say it together.
Lamiaceae.
Very nice. So that's the mint plant family. So you can go home and tell your family you learned how to speak Latin tonight. So these herbs all originated in the Mediterranean region. So describe the Mediterranean to me. Anybody been to Greece or somewhere lovely like that?
Warm.
Warm. Very good.
Is it dry?
Coastal.
Dry, coastal, yeah. What do you think the ground is like, the soil?
High minerals.
Sandy, yes, high minerals, good. Yeah, pretty, so hot, not too wet, not too humid, and good sandy soil. So you just described the best growing condition for all of the plants in the Lamiaceae family. So lavender is in that plant family. So if you've ever tried to grow the lavender in the ground in Nashville, that's why it died.
It's hard.
Yeah. So rosemary, sage, thyme, oregano, mint, they're all in the Lamiaceae plant family. That's what we're going to plant together tonight. I'm going to show you how to do that. There is the cousin now. There's a cousin in this family that is like not following the rules. Almost all the other plants in this plant family are what we call perennial. Anybody know what perennial means?
Yeah, it'll come back every year.
Yes, it comes up every single year. You're good. There's no rules here. So perennial, they'll last years after years after years. So that means tonight I went out and I said a goodbye kiss to a lot of my herbs this evening. I said goodbye to the oregano, the thyme. I don't know if they'll be there tomorrow. Hopefully they will be. But the one I definitely had to say goodbye to was the basil. And the basil is the cousin, okay? The basil is the one. She is not a perennial. I don't know what she was thinking when she kind of left the family or something. So basil is an annual, which means it grows from seed. It starts back from seed every single year. So your basil, if it's like mine right now, has created a lot of seeds, which is what you need to grow this next year, but it will not come back up from the soil. Whereas all these other plants will come back up. It's the most magical thing. You hit March.
I know that about time.
Yes, your lavender out there, if you keep it secure, it comes back in the spring. So, so these are money plants. They did a study on the plants you can get the highest return on in the garden. So like if you put in this much money and you gave it this much space, which plants would you get the highest return on? Y'all, the first 14 plants in the study are all herbs. Because these things, if you buy this from the grocery store, a half ounce is like $3.99 or $4.99. And you, with this one plant, you will harvest like a pound, if not 2 pounds of this in a season. So you all now have an excuse to spend a ton of money on your garden, okay? Do you feel liberated? It's gonna be a huge ROI for your household, okay? So that's the Lamiaceae plant family. We're gonna plant this up in just a second. Touch briefly on 2 other plant families I love in the herb garden, and that is the Apiaceae. Everyone say it together.
Apiaceae.
And this is not apes. These are, this is the carrot plant family. And so this includes cilantro, parsley, and dill. So I put these on your little cheat sheet here. I call them cool season herbs. They actually like it when it's cooler. So all the weather we've been having since like August is ideal weather for parsley, cilantro, and dill. And then again, starting really as soon as we get past, there's always that weird time in January, right? Mm-hmm. But as soon as we get past that in February, it's cilantro, dill, and parsley season again. And so if anybody ever tried to grow like cilantro in a salsa garden in the middle of July, maybe. So they always sell it at Home Depot or Lowe's in July, but that is not the time to plant it because cilantro hates hot weather. So you can blame your fails on Home Depot, okay? It's not your fault. So cilantro, parsley, and dill, they actually do great started from seed, and these are also annuals. And what does annual mean?
It means you have to plant it every year.
That's right. It's going to have like a 90 to 120 day cycle, then it's going to die, and then you have to start all over again from seed. It will not come back from its roots. But that's okay because it grows really fast from seed. The last herb family I want to mention is the onion plant family, the amaranth plant family. If you don't grow any other herb, now I don't even know if you actually call this an herb, but I do because I use it to seasoning and cooking.
Yeah.
Yes, chives, garlic, onions, all those are in the amaranth plant family, and chives are the easiest plant to grow. So if you feel like you're just like a total black thumb, you've never had success in the garden, just go buy one little thing of chives at the store and stick it in a pot, and you will have chives for the rest of your life. I'm not even exaggerating.
Like you cut it.
You just give it a haircut and it grows back. And every single year it multiplies itself from its roots. So you could become like the chive lady. Like you can hand people chives and always have more to give. So chives in your sauces, you can make all these fresh sauces with it. You can put it on top of your soups, on top of tacos, on top of salads, on top of omelets. There's nothing you can't put chives on top of. And if you do it enough, you'll have daughters who just walk by, grab some chives, and just stick it in their mouth. Like it becomes just part of your everyday life, and it's the easiest thing to do. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually set up a little herb garden. I have a little container here, and this is a thing I see a lot of people have failures with is they start with small pots. Have you ever seen that happen? Have you ever done it?
I've probably done it.
So you're like, you come here and you're like, this is so cute. I want some herbs in here. This is going to be so cute. And then your herbs are going to die. I'm not kidding, in a week. Right? So not that you do it with this, but I remember I did this little thing with Le Creuset for their herb garden container, and they sent me the containers.
Yes.
And they were, I'm not even kidding, they were this small and they had a drainage hole this big. And I was supposed to promote it, and I was like, I can't do that, it's too little. So this is a minimum size I would do for herbs. You really want it to be about 10 to 12 inches deep. The depth really matters. And then you really want to have at least a foot wide, okay? So Melissa is going to do our herb gardening demonstration for us. I'm going to start this over so I can video your proficiency. All right, so you want to have drainage holes. I should have brought like a little weed barrier cloth, which I don't have, it doesn't matter. So, but if you can put like a little weed barrier cloth on the bottom, okay?
Does it look like this? I'm curious. Kind of like this stuff?
Let's do that. That's perfect.
Is that kind of like what it is?
She has everything I need. Yes. Oh, this is even prettier though. Okay, I'm sorry, I took over.
It
You
might
go.
be waterproof.
I love it. Yeah, so
Okay.
all you want is something to keep the soil in, okay?
Okay.
So that's what you're gonna do first, and then I like to do a soil mix, and this is in your, on your cheat sheet. Compost, topsoil, and sand. Why do we put sand in there? Because our plants come from the Mediterranean, right? Yes, and drainage. So I have a little shovel for you so you don't have to get your hands super dirty.
Where do you get your compost?
But, do you want
Yeah.
gloves?
No, I'm
No?
gonna get
Okay. So you're only gonna put this soil about halfway into the container, okay? Because you don't wanna have to displace everything.
dirty. Okay.
All right, so you can even just dump it in there if you want to.
Where do you buy compost?
So I really like that place here, called Holy Cow. You guys ever?
No.
I also like Bates Nursery. They have a
Oh,
soil that is called Earth Mix.
Uh-huh.
And then y'all, I even just go to Ace Hardware and buy their mushroom compost.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but Molly and I went there a while back to video and they didn't have it, so call ahead of time. Okay, she's done a great job. Y'all think she's doing a good job?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's give her a hand. Nice job. That's soil.
Is that enough?
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so we're gonna start with the time. This is thyme, yes. So thyme is in what plant family?
Like
Yes, Le Creuset. You just said that. That's all I can think of. The Lamiaceae or the mint. You can just say the mint plant family. So you're gonna loosen the roots, and we're gonna put this one on the edge.
Okay.
So what a lot of people don't realize is they'll put herbs like right in the middle of a container. And these herbs are great for flowing over the edges. So if you look at any of my gardens, I always have herbs just like falling over the edge.
This is one of my favorites.
Yes,
So
look at
pretty.
her, she's fluffing, like she's fluffing the herbs, I love it. Okay, so we're gonna do the bigger perennials on both ends, and then we'll do the mint and the basil in the center. So this is rosemary. So rosemary comes in an arc, like a tall variety, and then it comes in a trailing variety. I literally bought these at Publix, you guys, yes, like 2 days ago. So I wanted to get something that all of y'all could do. So I'll put this on the end.
Oh, then.
So I would love, if you can get like a trailing rosemary, because those things will just like cover the edge of the bed. It's so beautiful. Do you have trailing rosemary, Natalie?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll just see.
Whatever you brought me.
Okay. Okay, so we've got it set up. So see why we only filled it to half? Because if we had filled it all the way up, we'd have a huge mess right now. So perfect. All right, so I'm going to put mint in here. I make videos with putting mint. This is from Publix. Okay, it's not my fault that it looks like this. That's the grocer's fault. I'm just working with what I have. So this will grow back, which is the best part. So a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you're putting mint in there. Mint is so invasive. So I mean, this is not like to last me a lifetime. This is just for a season. And yes, put it. You can squish it toward the time. And then a lot of people are assuming that we're not going to cut these at all, right? So you can prune back and use these again and again. And so it's not a big deal. It's going to be okay. But on Instagram, people think it's really, really terrible. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So like, why are you doing
Yes.
that to plants?
All right, so this is our cousin. Y'all remember our cousin's name? This is Basil Betty. Now in the grocery store, I don't know, they just give you so many this way overplant this, right? So before you transplant this, we're just gonna pull up all these babies. You can like eat these and enjoy these as microgreens, but you want to, there's just too much root pressure on this plant to transplant it. So you wanna do a little bit of that. So pull up the little babies out of there.
Never, ever would have known to do that.
Yeah, so most plants that you buy from a nursery, unless it's a really, really good nursery, they're gonna be overplanted in the pot because they want it to look much fuller when you buy it. And so almost everything that you're transplanting, you always wanna double check around the roots and be sure there's not 2, 3, 4, 5 plants in there, and then like gently separate them. In this case, they're too small to actually use them. So we're just gonna pop them out.
Do you pull them from the root too?
Yeah, I do.
Kind of pull it all the way up.
If you can.
Oh.
Let's give her a hand. She's doing a great job.
Very fun.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, this is the last step. You're doing great.
All right.
Each of these plants could be big enough. So see how there's, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So she's gonna pull that right. Oh, is she good? She's
I've
good.
watched you do it a few times.
Really nice job. Really nice. Good. All right. And then she's just gonna take her soil and just fill in the blanks. And you can even dump it in however you wanna do it. You're doing a great job. All right, so let's talk about care for these. So herbs like sun, but you have to remember they're in this container, right? And so they don't need to be blasted with sun all the time. In fact, some of these plants are gonna do better in like a semi-sun situation, so 6 hours. Anytime you're growing in any kind of container, that plant is going to need a lot more of your attention. And so you wanna have it in a place where you're gonna see it often, and that's why we want deeper pots. So the less, we all have our limitations, right? So the less able you are to give plants attention that they need, you need to put them in bigger pots, right? We need to make it easier for that plant to access nature. That's how I think about it. That's why I don't do house plants because I need things that can maintain themselves when I fall apart. You know what I mean? So the deeper the pot, the easier it is going to be for you to care for this. For watering, you don't want to overwater. A lot of people water their herbs to death. So we're thinking Mediterranean, right? So some water, but not a ton. So really just you feel this, like you put your hand in, your finger in, if it feels really dry, you water. But this isn't something you need to water every day. Really once a week is usually good. The plant, the leaves, the softer leaves will tell you. So basil and mint will tell you first. But that's part of the reason of the design of this planter. So less water needs, more water needs. So whichever herbs need more water, you're gonna put them toward the center. Whichever herbs need less, you put them toward the edge. Last but not least, we'll talk about harvesting. So herbs are cut and come again, like we talked about. They're gonna grow back from the heart. Doesn't that feel so good to think about? So they're gonna grow right from their heart. So that means we can harvest them from the edges. And I'm gonna have Melissa do a few little cuts here. So you can cut all the way back at the root, like if you cut a little stem back there, you can go there. That's what you want to do if you want the plant to kind of thin out a little bit and you want the length to continue. But we were talking about needing a bushy plant. So if you want a longer plant, you're going to come back to the edge and cut just like this. Nice job. But if you want your plant to get bushy, then you're going to come to a stem and you're going to cut right above what we call the leaf node, okay? So the leaf node is where, can you guys see this? So this is where this stem, you can see the little growth on the stem, and then this spot where the two leaves meet, that's a leaf node. So you're gonna cut right there, right above it, not below it. And then this will create two new stems. So if you want your plant, instead of going straight up, to spread out, then you would just come here and give this whole thing a little haircut right above the leaf node, and then you'll end up with two stems everywhere that you had one. Yeah, let's do that on basil too. So right here for this one.
Right there.
She's gonna cut right above the leaf
Can y'all
node.
see that?
Yeah, that's it. So then, when you do these harvests, our goal is to get everyone to have a year-round supply of herbs. So these are going to grow like crazy, spring, summer, fall. So every time you want to be harvesting a lot, you're going to think, I'm going to have oregano for the rest of my life. I don't need to harvest much right now. I just need to get what I'm going to use, right? But then you hit a day like tomorrow, and then you're so sad because you could have had more oregano. So each time you're going to harvest what you need for that season, for that time, for that dish, but you want to harvest a little bit extra like she did, and then you tie this up in twine like she's going to teach us with the wreath, and you hang it to dry. So you can do something like this. This is just like this is one of our herb hangers, but you can even just literally hang it on a coat rack, something like that. I know I was going to do this, but anyway, you hang it like this, and then a few weeks later, it's going to look like these things, okay? So it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks, and you want to be sure the leaves are completely dry, like not a bit of moisture. Yes, crunchy to the touch. Then buy yourself some of these little guys from, where did I get this? Publix.
Yeah.
I am like a sales lady for Publix right now. And then it's going to pile up. Ask Molly. They're all over my basement right now. And then you just strip the stems and stick them in here. Give them a little label. And you guys, you're going to have herbs for your whole life. And not only that, you're going to have herbs to give everybody in your family. So when I first started doing this, I would buy these little sets. They come in 4. And this was, I would put a little sticker like from the garden of Nicole. And so my mom, all my aunts, everyone had herbs from me to enjoy all year long, straight from my garden. So the garden just keeps on giving. So that is the way to grow your own herbs and have your own herb garden and herbs enough to enjoy yourself and give to friends too.
So nice.
Your turn. Yes.
Yeah.
Do I?
We plant and get that go away.
When do you plant? Yes. Okay, great question.
Yeah, we
So-
have good questions.
Yeah, we'll do that while I clean up.
Yeah.
Okay, so for perennial herbs, you can start some indoors. If you want to grow them from seed, you can start them like from seed very soon, like in November, December. Mine went out into the garden as like baby plants in February. And then definitely like once, most of these are frost tolerant, not the basil, but the rosemary and the thyme. If the temperatures are like highs of 40s, even if we dip a little bit, they'll still, I mean, even when I lived in Chicago, my oregano and chives and thyme, they came back in April before frost had passed. So here, I think February, March is a safe time. And then after our last frost, that's when you can put basil out. But cilantro, dill, parsley, those could be started indoor seeds now, and then they go out into the garden right as soon as we pass that, whatever terrible thing's gonna happen.
It's usually sometime in April.
There's gonna be one day where we have snow days for no reason.
No,
And
it's
then
true
once
there.
you pass that, that's when you can
So
put them
true.
out. So dill, cilantro, and parsley, you wanna think spring and fall. And then these Lamiaceae herbs and the chives, they're really from like March all the way till now. So it's a ton of herbs. It's so fun.
You ever plant and like put them in a sunny spot? Will they stay alive inside during the winter?
So I do. I have definitely moved herbs indoors. Like this is a perfect windowsill garden. So even for all of you could start one right now. Like literally, I bought all this at Publix on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you could do this exact thing and put it in a south-facing window. They're not going to like thrive, and I mean they'll thrive. They'll survive, but they're not going to necessarily
That
thrive.
makes sense.
But it gives you enough. It's better than buying the little plastic wrap stuff, right? So.
True.
Any other questions? Who is going to grow more herbs because of the last 5 minutes we just had together?
For sure.
She wants to buy that one right there.
At least one person.
We are
I
going to
love
do it. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, Melissa, take it over.
Okay. So excited. So everyone has the same thing on their table. I really enjoy making wreaths, starting with a grapevine wreath because we already have a nice base that I think is really cute. What's really fun about this is that what we're gonna do is make our wreaths out of like herbs that I bought that are used for floral design, but we can in our minds know that we can also use the herbs that you grew and that they will dry and you can pick those herbs off of the wreath that you just made. So some of the skills that you'll learn tonight can translate to making your own real herb edible wreath next year. So
And I have mine in the car, so I forgot to bring it
Yeah.
in, but will one of y'all go get it on the truck?
yeah, I would love for y'all to see what
Yeah.
an
it mine's
edible
right from the
herb will look.
garden.
'Cause
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna look different, but it's like edible.
Same
You can
idea.
keep it in house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but for like the purposes of it being fall and we all like to have this beautiful fall wreath, and for learning the skills of how to put a wreath together, we're gonna use this grapevine wreath, and which you can find at Walmart, Michael's, really kind of any craft store. You can buy grapevine wreaths. And then each person has a bundle of greenery. I actually did get some bay leaf here. Now I will say don't eat these because I can't guarantee they've not been sprayed. This is not an edible wreath, but we're pretending tonight because we're talking about wreaths. We have some rosemary in here. Oh, fun.
Thank you.
Eucalyptus is not an herb, but it's a pretty greenery. And then I've got some copper beech in here as well. I want you to show, your fun.
Hers is going to be prettier, but these are all from the garden. So oregano, rosemary, sage, thyme, and sage.
Love it.
So you have better smells.
No,
But
it's
this
great.
is what, and then you just hang it and pull off of it. It's a fun, and you can make it. I've made them where I literally fill the whole thing with them, which is really
Yeah, and you've done them on like a wire base.
Yes.
So you can also buy the wire base, but you kind of need to use a little bit more product to cover it. So you want to have a lot of herbs to do that. But tonight we're going to do, and you guys can do anything, but the demonstration that I'm going to do with Nicole is a little bit more kind of like what she did, like a half moon, kind of like an asymmetrical design on the wreath. But there's lots of greenery and product down here. If you all want to cover your whole wreath and have it going all around, that is totally fine. We should have enough greenery for that too. So I'm going to do the demonstration, and what's pretty cool about using a grapevine wreath is you actually don't really need wire for it. Everybody has a little bit of this like really great bind wire with your clippers and everything, but you don't have to have it because what you need about a wreath. Making a wreath is that you're going to be pushing the product into the grapevine, and that's why I like to use this. It's really easy, like anybody can do it. So, but I do want to show you guys something, because if you do have your own herbs and you want to make little bundles, we're not going to do, I'm going to show you all how to do this without bundling tonight because of the grapevine wreath, but if you are making your wreath, can I see the fresh herbs right there? Like
Yeah.
Like that little bundle right there. This one right there. Yeah. So if you have your fresh, let's see this. You see how this little bundle has been wrapped with wire like that? If you're using a little bundle like this, you could layer, instead of, you could lay out all of your herbs. You'd have which one is this? Oregano, thyme, rosemary, maybe lavender. I would lay them all out in groupings, and you can either put the groupings in chunks all the way around your wreath, or if you want it to be a little bit more varied, then what you would do is you would layer your oregano, and then you might put some of your thyme on top of that, and then a little lavender maybe. Sage, that's fun. And then you would take your wire and bundle that all together. So you're making a little bundle.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I mean? So then you have this like varied all the way around, and that's kind of a fun way to do it. And then
So
you'll
you
wire
bundle
to
it
your wreath.
before you put it on the wreath.
That's what I like to do when I'm doing it that way. Is I make all of my bundles, and then I just like wire all the way around. So that's kind of a fun technique for if you're using your herbs. You can also do that with your greens that you have here tonight. I love that you taught us about the leaf node, right?
Yeah.
Because I do this all the time when I'm designing with big branches like this. Like you could go wild and be like, I'm just gonna have it like crazy and wild on there, but that's a really big piece of greenery. So I want to cut this down without it looking like I just like chopped it in half. So I'm really intentional about the way I do that. So what I do is I look at this big piece of greenery, and I go down to where the stem ends, and two more pieces start, pretty much, where there's like a little V. You see that spot right there where there's a V? And I'm going to cut right above it. Do you have a piece I bet you've got a piece in yours.
Because that's going to cover up the cut.
That's going to cover up the cut.
That's
So
very
then
cool.
we've got this pretty, this piece right here that I can then follow that down to the next V and cut it there. And then I've got all these branches, and I'm going to cut those off. Yeah, so you can do that too. Even if I have a pretty straight piece like this, I can go down and cut it right above where another little leaf starts, and I can still use that small piece. Does that make sense?
You're always looking for, you want the top to be beautiful.
You want the top to be beautiful. So
Okay.
this, like I cut right there, but this still looks pretty like that. So look, I just took that one branch, and I got like
Wow.
10 pieces.
And that's gonna bunch so much better, right?
Yes. So see, I got all of that from that one piece like that. So I'm actually going to cut into that a little bit more. Because really when you're wreath making, you want pieces, yes, a little bit more like that, like pieces about that size. And maybe a few that are longer. So I like to kind of cut my pieces up.
So do you cut everything first
Sometimes I do.
to get the vision?
Yeah,
I
just
love
to
that.
kind of get all of my pieces going, and then I will kind of go from there. You can also do this with rosemary because all of the leaves kind of are upward. So, and I don't want this huge stalk in my, I mean, obviously if you have real rosemary from your garden, it might not, I don't know, does it grow this tall?
That would be like the arc. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a
It's pretty long.
That's
This is
impressive.
made for design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you can do the same thing with rosemary. I kind of go down, just like Nicole taught us earlier, to that next leaf where it looks, see how that still looks pretty there? It's not as pointy, but that's okay because it still is going to look pretty in the wreath.
I love that.
So I'm going to get 1, 2, and then I want some shorter pieces. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to give you all lots of time to do yours in just a minute. Let's see. And if you want a couple of really long pieces, you can leave a couple of long ones. And then everybody has some eucalyptus like this, and this is another one that's like got a lot of legs on it. So I'm just gonna, yeah, so the rosemary is kind of the same. Like you go down, I like to pull it apart, you know, and cut right above those two, just like you're clipping herbs in your garden.
I love it.
Yeah. So then I've got my eucalyptus, and I'm cutting off some of those. See how I've got lots of little arms here. So I'm gonna just cut those.
So what about the really woody pieces? Do you try to keep those?
If there's enough that looks pretty up here,
You'll use it?
then I will use it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I just took that one piece of eucalyptus and I got all of this off of it, which is great. Then I'm going to use my little copper beech in a minute, so I'm not going to do that quite yet. Okay, I've got my greenery laid out. I'm going to let you.
You keep going. I'm learning. I'm catching up.
I want to show you all what I do with the wire. Now, this is like florist wire, but you can use craft wire that you buy from the store, like a paddle of the green wire. It works just fine. I would buy like the thinnest wire that you can because it's going to wrap a lot easier than anything like really thick. But what I like to do, like for this instance, I'm going to pre-wrap some pieces. That's not true, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I know that I want my design to start here. It's going to end about right here, so about half of the wreath. So I'm going to put my little piece of wire, I'm just going to like put it into part of this wreath about where I want to start. Because basically what I'm going to do is as I lay my pieces of greenery on there in bunches, I can take this and wrap it around.
Oh, that's
You know what I mean?
cool.
And then you lay your next piece on there and you wrap it again. But if you want to bundle things, like I said earlier, like I might take a piece of bay leaf and then a piece of eucalyptus. If you like symmetry and for everything to look the same all the way around, this might be your way to do this. Like I said earlier, you can put those 3 pieces together. You honestly don't even need to bundle this together because you're going to take it with the wire, kind of hold it on the top of your wreath, and just wrap your wire around it like that. See, and that holds it on there really well. Now, if you don't want to mess with the wire, because we have a grapevine wreath, you can also just stick it in there. And that's the beauty of a grapevine wreath, is you can use the wire for extra security, but you can also just push those pieces in.
That's really nice.
Yeah. And you already have like the whip here, so you don't have to use as much product. Like if you don't have a ton of herbs, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I love that.
And sometimes if I'm not going to use the wire, I might just use it to like put attach a few little end pieces in that I want to lay a certain way, and then I'll wire that on.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
For your bunches, do you find if you don't tie them together, they'll stay and not slip?
With a grapevine wreath, probably. With a wire wreath, you will need to bind those little bundles together and then wire.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for these purposes of just showing you guys how I'm going to design this, I'm going to kind of do an even spread of the bay leaf, and I like kind of wild. So mine's not going to be
surprising.
I like some asymmetry in my life, and I don't mind if some pieces kind of, and I can always take wire and kind of pin it up a little bit. So I'm going to take those pieces of greenery, and I'm just going to kind of evenly spread those around. Get those in.
That's cool.
And because I want it to be really a pretty finish up top, I also want a pretty finish on this side. So I'm going to go this way with this piece of greenery. See how that's a prettier finish than if I were to just like end it, like if I were to end it like this. You can do that if you want to, but I think it's prettier to turn a few pieces like that, so I'll show you. That. And then I'm going to take this last piece and go this way. So that's kind of a loose. What I do after I'm going in with the bay leaf is I'm going to start filling in with some of my other ingredients, like my eucalyptus. And what I do is I start going, okay, where are my little empty spots that I want to kind of fill in? Yeah.
This is so fun.
It's really it's fun because it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I think that's why wreath making is so much fun, because you literally are just like sticking the greenery in.
Yeah. Oh, look at hers. It
But
looks
it
so
can
good.
just start to like kind of fill out.
I love that.
And I don't mind if I see a little bit of that grapevine through, because I like the earthy look of grapevine. So if you're doing this look, don't forget to keep one of your pieces of each element that you're using to go the opposite direction at the end. You know what I mean? Okay.
So what do you think about, where would you hang these? Would you hang it on the front door, or does it have to go inside?
No, I would hang this on the front door.
Really?
Yeah. Now, my front door gets a lot of sun, so it's going to get a little crispier. I'm going to have to be okay with my wreath getting crispy. But this wreath can go inside too. It'd be beautiful inside. It's going to smell really good. Now, if you don't want an even spread and you like the look of like all one kind, you can kind of do whatever. Get them all the way around.
Hey, we're doing this now?
Yeah, go
We're
for
going
it.
for
Keep
it?
going. Just keep going with all of
So
those little ingredients there. I love that everyone's just diving in.
I
They're
know.
diving in.
You made it feel very doable. Tell me your
Okay, can you all see here? I've got all three of those ingredients in. Yeah. Look, everyone's going for it. Okay, this is called Copper Beech. This is actually a preserved, like waxed, real product. So this is Copper Beech, but it has been
cool. So that it keeps its
so
color.
it keeps its color and it keeps its integrity. It doesn't get as crunchy. Love it. I'm gonna do the same with my copper beech. I'm gonna use a little bit of a longer piece here. And I kind of want this to be my focal point. So for me, I like to have a focal point on my wreath. And I have ribbon for everyone. So usually the focal point for a wreath is going to be around where you want to put your ribbon. So you might, if you want to put your ribbon at the top, then you might want to have a really pretty little swag of elements at the top. If you want your ribbon at the bottom, which is where I'm going to put mine, I'm going to make this area around the ribbon a little bit more special. And I have a lot of neat little ingredients for you guys to come and choose from once you get your base done. So with my copper beech, because it's a contrasting color, it looks really pretty. I'm going to take this and put it right here, because I'm going to put my ribbon right here, and then I'm going to take this other little piece and I'm going to go the opposite direction.
Oh, that's pretty.
So see how I'm starting to like kind of get this focal area on both sides? Because I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to put ribbon here and let it kind of fall down. You may like the way that ribbon looks when it comes down across your wreath, and if that's it, you might want to do like a half moon on the top, or you might want to just cover your whole wreath and then put your ribbon at the top and let it cascade down.
This is like,
That's it.
this is so awesome. I feel like we got to see this like live.
We did. We put it together.
This is the mini.
Yeah,
the mini
that's
version.
the mini version of it.
That's awesome. This was amazing.
It's amazing.
And y'all did such a good job. Our hope is that this inspires you to bring the garden back into your own world and teach everybody in your life the things we taught you.
Yeah.
So now you know how to grow herbs, and you know how to turn those herbs into a beautiful wreath. And it's a gift that keeps giving, right?
It is. You can do it again and again, or this will dry and you just pull it back out of the closet and put it again next year.
Yeah.
Or I'm inspired to grow my own herbs now.
Yes.
So I'm gonna do it.
I love it.
I'm
I'm so
totally
glad.
gonna do it, and then we're gonna dry them and make an edible wreath.
Yes.
I'm so
So-
excited about that.
For Gardenary, you guys can grab that course. It's at gardenary.com, right on our homepage on our resources. That's free. And if you want either of my books, Leaves, Roots, and Fruit, or Kitchen Garden Revival, I have Leaves, Roots, and Fruit if you want that one tonight. And then what's coming up for Flower Kitchen?
Yeah, we have another workshop coming up in a couple of weeks for tablescaping. So we're gonna be teaching how to kind of build out your holiday table. And then we have Friendsgiving here. Our friend Charles Hunter, he is a wonderful chef, is going to be preparing a wonderful meal for us right here at the Flower Kitchen.
Oh.
And it's going to be
Are the
lovely.
tickets still available?
We are posting them tomorrow, so you'll have to grab tickets. It's going to be really fun. So yeah, a couple more things coming up, and then we'll have more events in December that will be launching soon. All the holiday vibes. So
Yeah.
we're
So if y'all
excited.
have suggestions for other workshops or things y'all like us to do together in the winter,
Yeah,
spring, let us know.
Yes.
Thank y'all for
Thanks
being
so
a part.
much.